Extremely happy and extremely proud of the way our guys competed and performed on Saturday night. To match up against a team like Arkansas State, who's consistently been really good for about 15 years now with conference championships and consistent bowl games, just gives us a small glimpse of where we're headed as a program and some of the things that we can do if we all, pull together and lock in. So, really happy about that performance. Offensively, I thought you saw Amari Odom kind of coming to his own a little bit on Saturday. Did some good things, did some bad things. But the biggest thing is he's resilient when he did make mistakes to come back and continue to try to put his game on the right track. On the defense side of the ball, those guys did an outstanding job of just being all over the field as they've consistently been all year long. Off defensively, for a long time, it was a goose egg on the scoreboard for quite a while, and then they had their struggles right there before the half, and were able to come back and overcome some of those things in the second half, make some small adjustments, and as a whole team, whenever you can get a win like that, offense, defense, and special teams, I feel like all somewhat kind of complementing one another defensively. Those guys holding those guys to the yardage they had, and then us on offense having almost 500 yards of offense. Just that is true complementary football to me. Special teams, Gabe Yard having an explosive punt return as well. So now we kind of turn our attention into Middle Tennessee, first conference game, which should be exciting. In order to make all our hopes and dreams come true, there has to be an opportunity to go out there against conference opponents, and we have to win those games. Especially, we get a chance to host another opponent of that caliber here at our stadium. Well-coached team. I've known Coach Mason for several years now, and his teams are always well coached. Extremely knowledgeable coach, former SEC coach. And then also too, you look at his staff, the guys just a lot of those guys have been around the block at all different levels. I think offensively, what they bring to the table is an opportunity to throw the ball anywhere on the field. Quarterback is a vet, he's a journeyman. He's done it at a lot of different avenues and did it a lot of different ways. A lot of different coordinators have been through there with him, and he always finds a way to be a very productive quarterback, which is impressive. You look at the defense side of the ball. There's some new faces, but their D line is one of the things that just continues to jump out at me. They have a linebacker as well, number 9, that is all over the field. Every time you turn on the film, he's involved in the mix and making stops. So that's one of the things we're gonna have to really put our best foot forward and be on our A game anytime you get a chance to play a conference opponent.
We'll go to questions. Kai wants to kick us off.
Yeah, Coach, speaking of Amari, who obviously had the huge performance on Saturday, you told us about a week before the season that he had made a jump from the spring to the fall of the likes you had never seen before. What were some of those areas in which he made those leaps and bounds to look like he did on Saturday?
I think the first thing it started off the field. When I looked at the way he performed, as we talk about our strength and conditioning program in the summer for those 8 weeks, guys come back at the end of May, beginning of June. It was just how he went about getting bigger, faster, stronger. It was the leadership roles that he exhibited within the team during those 8 months, those 8 weeks when times got tough from a standpoint of the workouts. And then a lot of those things kind of carried over into when we enter fall camp. You could see some of the things he had cleaned up on it in his games from a standpoint of knowledge of the system. He had cleaned up on just being more comfortable as far as in the reins of the pocket. He understood where his check downs were a lot better. He made better decisions with the football, to be honest with you, all through fall camp. So those are the things that usually just take, at least a fall and then another spring to try to get fixed from a young quarterback. But I do think him having, great game experience. He was a starter last year in the FCS program. So that experience that he had, he was able to apply that and learn from it and grow from it. It wasn't a great spring for him, to be honest with you. I do think he was still some things of the newness of the systems, the newness of the school, some things he was a little bit apprehensive about. But once he realized that, just put your head down and work, like we tell a lot of these guys, everything kind of started to work out for him and click for him. And I think it all came to fruition on the other night, Saturday, when he was able to, rush for over 100 and throw for 300.
You mentioned their quarterback, Nick Vattiato. He's one of the veterans in this conference, obviously. Just what jumps out when you turn on his tape?
Man, he's extremely accurate. from a standpoint of putting the ball where it needs to be consistently. You see him making throws from far hash all the way to the sideline. Like he has the arm talent. He's just seen a lot of defense and a lot of styles of defense, playing a lot of football. When you look at a guy that's been starting 2 to 3 years, that's usually the case. So it's hard to trick him from a standpoint of presenting something new that he hasn't seen. He gets rid of the ball well too. He gets the ball to his running backs. He gets the ball to his tight ends. He doesn't wait. He has a great internal clock of understanding when things are probably not going to be open. So he needs to get out of there and run or scramble or potentially get to the check down.
Coach, you were coaching in Conference USA 6, 7 years ago, on staff at Rice. The league's changed a lot since then, at least appearance-wise. What are some of the things that are similar, and in what ways has the scope of the league changed as we move into conference play this year?
I think when you look at the similarities, the league still has a lot of parity in it. Anybody can beat anyone on any given day. A lot of these teams are very similar from a standpoint of resources and the athletes that they have. Where you may have a strength here, it may be a deficiency there, and vice versa. I might have a strength in one spot, but a deficiency somewhere else. So there's a lot of teams that just trying to learn how to overcome the deficiencies that they may have, depending on what position or side of the ball that may be on. So I do think that's really still consistent. Where I see some of the things that have changed is, the league is so spread out now that the teams are all over the place, all the way from Missouri all the way down to Florida. So the travel is a little bit different from that aspect. Just the teams and the teams that you run into from a recruiting standpoint. When I was at Rice, even though it was an academic school, there still was a lot of parity from a standpoint of recruiting. We were recruiting a lot of the same kids. Now I'm probably not going to be recruiting a lot of kids in Delaware. Like that's probably not the reality of where I'm at in my location. The same thing in Missouri. Back then, like I said, a lot of the schools were a lot more regionally based.
Stan, you want to go?
Yeah, Coach, I'm writing a story on the Vineyard brothers. When's the last time you've coached twins?
Well, here's what's funny. The last time I coached twin was our running back coach, Coach Walters, him and his brother, Austin. So Austin played running back slash receiver, and then Aston played running back for us at Rice. And for probably about the first 3, 4 months on the job, I couldn't tell them apart. But
Well, you probably
they looked the
go ahead.
same,
I'm
but
sorry.
I said they looked the same, but they had very different skill sets.
Well, it's probably not as hard to tell the vineyards apart. The one's a little bit bigger than the other one, but they both have impacted the program. What have they brought to the table? Their experience, their skills that have helped you guys transition into the new year.
Well, just very pleased with, first of all, Gabe. Gabe has been extremely good for us this year. We went through the spring trying to figure out exactly what we were going to be able to do with them, where we wanted to play him at, whether it was running back or receiver. And we kind of honed in. I think he had his most impact, we felt like, a receiver. So we moved him full time to receiver, and it's kind of worked out for him a ton. Garland didn't practice with us in the spring because he was nursing an injury that he had. So we got him back in fall camp. He kind of took a fit like a fish to water. Everything that we had seen on film while we chose to bring him back and wanted to bring him back to this program, he's started to slowly show more and more each week. Like the physicality is continuing to improve. He always had great lateral movement, sideline to sideline, making plays. But now he's starting to put everything together. And those guys, that's why you want to coach. Those guys are good men. They're going to be great citizens. I mean, Gabe is already a father, so like those guys, they're going to get a lot from this program, and we're getting a lot from them as well.
How big was the punt return and the big reception that Gabe had the other night to kind of get you guys going?
Yeah, all those things are extremely huge. Gabe is very smart when on punt return, when the ball is in the air and he has to make a full speed decision, whether to get away from it or whether to pick it up and take it off and run or just naturally just field it. Like he just makes really good decisions back there as a punt returner. There's a lot of trust in him. The big explosive plays, being at the right place at the right time. We had a meeting about that this morning. One of the tip balls off Christian Moss's fingertips that Gabe ends up catching. man, just do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do, and good things naturally kind of turn out and happen. And that's really what happened on that reception.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach, just building on Gabe in the wide receiver room, Christian Moss is also putting together a big year. Lyndon Rivard's had a couple of nice games. Just how helpful is it and how complementary are they to each other when it comes to attracting the defense's attention and helping each other out?
Extremely important. It puts us in a position where we feel like it is hard to just roll the coverage to one certain receiver. When you sit there and you line up, and the kind of year and the kind of games that Gabe is having, where he's an explosive play waiting to happen, and then you start to add Christian in there, who's making his plays, and he hasn't got a lot of big explosives yet, but they're on their way just because he does have the ability, has the long speed. And then all of a sudden, if you want to do something, try to double team either one of those guys, how do you put Linden on the other side and then say, hey, look, we're just gonna leave him one on one. So when you have matchup issues across the board like that, it presents challenges for any defense. I look at our defense, when we go against people that has an elite wide out or a few elite wide outs, that changes everything as far as how the game is called and how the game is played.
Then one more for me, just yeah, building on the Benyard brothers, some of these guys who have been in the program 3, 4 years, have been through a lot of losing, are on their second coaching staff. Just how have they, laid the foundation and led as those seniors who have been through quite an experience in the last couple of years?
Well, we continue to lean on those guys for just the voice to get people back focused a little bit. We have a lot of new transfers in the building, a lot of new guys first year at KSU, and want those guys consistently understand that they're playing for those seniors, or they're playing for those guys that's been here 3 or 4 years that haven't had an opportunity to go to a bowl. Some of them may not have had an opportunity to have a winning season. So, like, that is one thing that those older guys, like a Gabe or Garland, they're constantly using their voices. They're constantly using their ways to talk to their teammates, whether it be on the field or off the field, to talk to them about how important it is leaving a legacy and going out with a bang.
Anything else for Coach Mack?